Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. Good to be back home, and it is time for a live stream. Today is Tuesday, April 26th, 2022. I am so glad to be home, guys. It is good to be back in front of this podcast mic, and I haven't seen you guys in so long. I got so much to talk about today, so much that I saw and did. You guys got to see a lot of it, all the highlights anyway, but might make it on to video, so I'm happy to talk about them here. Good to see you guys. Good to be talking to you guys. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, and then for those of you guys who are listening and watching this later, welcome to you guys as well. I think we should just dive in. I got my afternoon coffee, just brewed another cup just to make sure I was extra topped up for today, and literally 5 minutes ago, I got a delivery of my second piece of luggage. One of the two bags that I checked made it with me to the airport to Chicago last night. The other one didn't, and it was the one with all the shoes in it. So I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like that's an irreplaceable bag. Not the bag, but the stuff that was in it, because there's not like there's a whole bunch of these shoes that are laying around that could be sent to me if these ended up getting lost. Plus, there was another pair of Metaspeed Sky version 1s that was it's pretty much brand new. That was also in there too. And then, my foot pod, my heart rate monitor, all other replaceable stuff, but stuff that I need. So I'm glad it's here. So I've got them here at home. Metaspeed Sky Plus and then the Metaspeed Edge Plus, both here. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop in there. We could talk all about it. I don't have a ton of experience in the Edge. I went for one run, 3 miles in them. So I still need to do a little bit more testing, but I can tell you guys about all that too. But first, let's get to some of the stuff in the chat. Frank was wondering if it was the regular stuff or the bag with the ASICS swag. Well, I didn't have like a regular bag. So I had like my clothes and then all the ASICS shoes in one bag. And then all my like video equipment that apparently I shouldn't have packed luggage in another bag because my shotgun mic died. This mic made it fine, but this mic is not portable, really. So I had all that. So like losing either bag would have been pretty annoying, but fortunately it all worked out eventually. Kyle says, "Howdy peeps, 10 miles in the Escalante Racer on Sunday and he's still feeling it today." Ooh, that's no good, but hopefully it was a good 10 miles. Dominic Smirnowski says, "Yo, what's going on? The ASIC event was amazing. Did you have any outstanding Spanish food? And greetings from Malaga." Yes, I did have really good Spanish food. We went to have tapas most days while I was out there, which was really great. It's just like, it felt like I was eating on a movie set a lot of the times, because you're like this old European city, sitting at like a wooden table in the middle of the street that doesn't allow cars on it. And so people are walking and hardly anyone speaking English. If they were speaking English, it was British English that I heard. So, everything just sounded very foreign and kind of exotic in that way. And so lots of really great food. I think the favorite thing that I ate were the cheeses. The cheeses were really delicious. I don't know what kind of cheeses they were, but they were all, everywhere I went, there was cheese, and it was fantastic. I had some really good olives as well. And someone asked me earlier if I did have any of the Iberico ham. I did have some of the ham when in Spain, that kind of thing. So, and it was very, very delicious, very delicious. I mean, you can't go there and not have that, right? So that's how it was. So a lot of good food, but on the other hand, it's like, there's so much else that I wish I could have done, but at the end of the day, this is a work trip for me, I'm there to have fun, and to race and to cover the event, but still there's like, the video's got to get out. I suppose it could have waited a little bit longer, but I really, that's always been kind of like part of what I deliver is videos pretty quickly. So that was all part of it. So I did spend a lot of time inside the hotel as well. All right, Ryan Wiseman says, "Hello, slowly getting back into running after recovery from Boston. Got a new marathon PR at Boston. Awesome. With a 3:01:23. Fantastic. Great job, Ryan. And he's anxious to hear about the Sky Plus to the Sky 1 comparison." Yeah, well, we could talk about that for sure. C-Town Fan says, "España with the heart emojis, or the emojis with all the little hearts around it." And Luis says, "Yo, what's going on?" And Luis says, "Congrats on the PR, 5K PR. Well, thank you. I did manage to shave off 2 seconds from the official PR. I mean, originally going into the day, I thought I was gonna shoot for under 6 minute miles for the 5K, which I think would have put, I don't know exactly where that would have put me, but it would have put me under 19 minutes. That was the goal. But after spending the entire morning like chasing after the pros and all the three other races, about halfway through like the 10K, I was like, oh, this is not really great if I want to run a 5K PR kind of race later today. But I'm like, what am I going to do? Like not cover the race how I want to cover it so I can get like a 5K PR. I don't even like race 5Ks that much. It's not that big a deal to me. So I was like, you know what? And then after I talked to Zane Robertson, and he was just like, sometimes you just got to enjoy the running. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to run around and chase these runners. Because when else will I get this kind of access for this kind of event? And then when it gets to 5K time, I'll just, cruise in like a little threshold run. I could do that. So, but it still ended up working out great. I kind of got a little bit of both. Not exactly the PR that I wanted, but still a PR anyway, and I'll take that any day. So, a little bit of cake and eating it too. Ines is here, says, hi, Kafuzi and everybody. Great content from this weekend, Mike, and a great 5K time. So good to see Alicia'S 5K race time as well. Man, she's amazing. She's amazing. So like for the weekend, going into the weekend, they were like, here's like a list of athletes that are available this weekend for interviews, kind of like, it was like a match system where we could rank who we wanted to interview. And she was definitely high on the list, but she was high on everyone's list. So most of the interviews, they ended up pairing me and the other American, Brian Metzler, together. And the two of us would go around because we tended to want to interview the same people. And so like we went around and interviewed the same people, and we would usually get like 15 or 20 minutes, the two of us, asking questions. But for Alish, I think everywhere Alish went, it was like 8 people. So like multiple groups would get together, sit around, and then like you got to ask one question and only one question. So, but that's just everyone wanted some of her time. And it's easy to see why, because she's a really good runner. But like, she's one of those people where you meet them and it's like you can sense star power right away, and like just very charismatic. And so, I left the interview very, very impressed. If I had had more time, I definitely would have brought up unicorns. Like my dream question to ask Eilish McColgan at this time would be like, all right, you've been talking what seems like for years about eventually moving up to the marathon distance. It's got to be the Boston Marathon, right? Because the logo for the Boston Marathon is a unicorn, and then the Scottish national animal is the unicorn. It just feels only fitting. I really want to pose that question to her, but I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever get the chance. All right. Let me scroll down a little bit so I can catch up with you guys in the chat. Adam says, I'm old friends with Lance. Are you really? Oh, that's so cool. Really, really cool. I've run into him a couple times now. I think the first time we met was in Texas for TRE at the Hoka event. And then I saw him again in LA. So, it's nice, like, now that I'm like starting to see some of the same people at events and stuff like that. It makes it a lot easier and a lot less intimidating to go to some of these events. So it was good. It was really good to see him, and I spent time with him before, and I like spending time with him. So it was really good. Really good to see him. It says you were with Brian Metzler? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great guy. His luggage got lost on the way over there. And it took like he didn't get his bags until like halfway through the day or towards the end of the day, Saturday. So I felt really bad for him. And then I was like, and then it happened to me on the way back. And I'm like, well, I suppose losing your bags for a day on the way back is better than losing them when you're there. But like I asked him, like, is there any like equipment or anything that you need to do what you need to do? And I'm like, I don't think we're the same sizes for shoes, but if there's anything I can get you. But they were able to get him another pair of shoes to wear for the shakeout run and stuff. I was like, Brian, what did they give you? Because I was like, I couldn't recognize them. So I thought maybe there was some weird like demo shoe, but this was at the Pulse Asics. I don't know. It's not a popular model around here. Stevie76 says, should I track the luggage with Apple tags? No, I didn't. But so I think my bags went from Malaga to London to LA and then back to Chicago. So They're better traveled than I am. Yeah. Matt Aquanero says, how's the jet lag? Thoughts on the best kind of running to get system back on track? The jet lag was, I think I'm doing okay. I think, give me another day and I'll be back. I'll probably try to do a workout tomorrow and see how that goes. But the way that the flights were, my flight was at like 11 to London and I was exhausted to get there for my flight because I didn't get much sleep. Just I've been trying to work through all these video footage. I just had so much content, so much footage from over the weekend. So I slept from the flight from Malaga to London, and then I told myself I was going to not sleep the entire flight from London to Chicago. And I just worked. I literally worked the entire time. Yesterday's video and today's video that just dropped, it took the entire flight to put those together. And they still felt a little bit rushed to me. And so by the time I got home, I was pretty much a wreck. I wasn't that useful, but I was able to say hi to the kids, have dinner, and then relax a little bit. And then I went to bed and I didn't wake up early today. And so I think I'm kind of back on track now. So, yeah. Lewis says, welcome back, Co. Had an awesome time volunteering at Boston Marathon this year. Got to meet and chat with Tommy Riz Puzzi. That's cool. Yeah, I saw him out there. Was it Shannon's picture that she got of him on the course. That was really cool to see. Really cool that you got to volunteer at the Boston Marathon. I've never volunteered at a race before. I think that's something that I should do. I got to figure out which race I should do that for. Dr. Josh is here. Says, what up, fam? Good to see you, Josh. How are you? Jonathan Crossley also saying, what up, Doc? Very cool. Adam says, regarding the jet lag, why did you think a 9 p.m. dinner was late when you were still on Chicago time? Well, I wasn't. So getting there to Spain, my flight out was in the evening at like 4 or 5 o'clock. But 4 or 5 o'clock was very late at night in Spain. So I tried to, even though I wasn't tired at 5, I tried to sleep right away and sleep as much as possible for my flight. The main flight was from Chicago to Frankfurt. So I slept the majority of that flight, or what I could. And so I was kind of adjusted to Spanish time. So and then yeah, so it still felt late. I'm just not good at late dinners. I mean, your body takes some cues from the sun and stuff. So when the sun is down and it's for a while and then you go to dinner, that's kind of hard for me. Ed says, there's some serious Casey Neistat vibes watching your videos in Spain. Amazing. You've come a long way since the first Peg 34 Shield review video I watched of you. Thank you very much. And that's a compliment to me. I definitely took a lot of influence from him in terms of deciding to even wanting to start making regular videos. So I also try not to watch any of his content anymore because his style is very infectious. And so it's really hard. If you watch a lot of Casey Neistat videos, you end up making that style of video. So I try not to follow it too much. But in the early days, for sure, 2016, 2017, I was watching it every day. So thank you. I mean, I think I'm not anywhere near that caliber, but I appreciate that. Chris McLean says, yo, everyone, it's been a very long time. Been keeping up on the podcast, though. Awesome. And JC says, Spain is a hoot. Westerners leaving restaurants at 10 p.m. Spaniards only starting to show up. Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. That's true. That's true. And then Dr. Josh wants to know if I had a siesta in España. I did not have any siesta. I did not have time for them. But I definitely noticed it. And one of the A6 people was like, it's going to get real quiet here around 3 or 4. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, because everything closes. The restaurant, you won't be able to sit down and eat because everyone goes and has siesta. I was like, for real? Still? In 2022? And she's like, yeah. So I was like, okay. And then it's very true. We're walking around. It's bustling. People everywhere. And then all of a sudden it's like that. Everyone just disappears. And it's super quiet. And then it starts to pick up again an hour or two later. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, and I think it's not a bad thing. I think it would take me a really long time to get used to that. I think I would probably be well, it'll be quiet, so I'll go for a run. I think that's what I would end up doing. I don't think I could ever adjust to to siesta. Dominic says, did the trip to Spain spark your desire to do the Valencia Marathon in December? It sure does. Because like just running in that part of the world was amazing down there. And like the energy from the other runners was a different type of energy from American races. It felt very different. It was really cool. And, you know, they say it's a nice and flat and fast course in December, huh? Maybe I won't do CIM this year. I don't know. Interesting. Chris said, did you have a fried calamari sandwich there at the best? I did not have any calamari while I was there. Dr. Josh, I can't tell if this is for real or not, says, I bought a replica of King Arthur's Excalibur from Toledo, Spain. I want to donate it to a park and have them put it in a stone on top of a hill or in a cave. That's amazing. That's amazing. If it's true, it's even more amazing. If it's not true, it's a very interesting couple of sentences you put together there. All right. As far as the Metaspeed Edge, so that you guys, just so that way we could talk about it a little bit. So the main thing, there's more stack height in it before. Same heel drop. Let me adjust this camera so we can see this shoe a little bit better. And I'll do more full videos on it, but just for now to talk about it a little bit kind of immediately. So it's the same heel drop as before, 8 millimeters from front to back, but there's 4 millimeters more in the forefoot and 4 millimeters more in the heel. So people that thought that it was too firm that ran in the first one, I think you're going to be really happy. That being said, it doesn't feel like a super soft shoe. So I did 3 miles. I did 1 mile at Marathon Effort, and then 2 like quarter miles at about like 5K pace. And it feels much better for me at 5K pace. I just think that like the way my foot is hitting the ground, maybe it matters a little bit less, the differences between the two shoes. So I didn't love it when I was just doing like warm up pace, easy pace, it actually made my arches a little bit fatigued just preliminarily. It could have just been, the travel, but I think that part of it was from the shoes. And so there's just something about it that just seems a little bit odd to me. And it doesn't have the squish of like a super shoe in that traditional sense. But the rocker is it doesn't look that aggressive, but it starts really far back. So it starts back here. And so you're curling a lot. So it feels like you're standing on a much smaller shoe. And kind of where my foot hits is right at where the curve is. So parts of it were reminding me a lot of the Meta Ride. I don't know if you remember that weird shoe. So I feel like this to me feels like a successor, a modernized version of the Meta Ride. So people that liked the Meta Ride are probably going to really like the Metaspeed Edge. And I think that the way that it's just curled, I'm landing on a part that you're probably not supposed to be landing on. So it's going to take me it took me a while to get used to it. So like towards the end of my run, I was like, okay, I'm finding a rhythm with this shoe. And it's really starting to work for me. So it'll be interesting to see if that is a shoe that I can kind of make work for me. There's part of me that wonders if I'm maybe that small percentage of people that will prefer the Edge. Initially, though, I don't. I really love the Metaspeed Sky Plus. Yeah, let's see. Sorry, there's a lot of questions here. Dr. Josh says his replica of Excalibur is real. Awesome. Stevie76 wants to know, did I miss the hotel bidet? I did not use the hotel bidet. I've never used a bidet before, and they kind of intimidate me a little bit. I'm worried that I'm going to get my paint, like I'll just get all my clothes wet, and then I'll have to come out of the bathroom soaking wet. And it'll be like, what happened in there? And I'll be like, this is my first time using a bidet, guys. Sorry. so that's the story with the bidet. I'm not familiar with how to use them. Matthias Sventest says they look incredible. The colors are great. Everyone's like, oh, Eugene green, and to me, my color blindness, it's like navy and yellow. So I really like that combo. But yeah, I think they look great. Ed Chan also enjoys the design, colorway and design. Says they're eye catching. Terry says, my wife just popped into the study. Shoes, that's Terry's porn. Then she left. That's funny. Yeah. let's see what else we got here. And then so the Metaspeed Sky, a lot of this is going to be very similar to the version 1. And I think that's why they're calling them pluses and not version 2. Although for me, I think that they do feel enough different that they could call it a 2. I mean, especially if you're going to be Endorphin Pro 1 and Endorphin Pro 2, then this is certainly a version 2 to me. So even though like it looks like statistics wise, like the heel drop's the same, the stack heights are the same, they do look quite a bit different. And one of the ways I think you could see it best is in the outsole. And so on the outsole, it does look a little bit wider on the plus versus the version 1. And there is more foam in the shoe, even though the heel drop and the stack height is the same. There's 4% more foam, which I think is what contributes to the weight difference. The fit of the upper is a little bit different as well. I think that there's a little bit more room. My toes did not feel super scrunched in there. So if I can give you a look, I don't know, it's going to be hard to kind of really objectively tell from this way, but I think that there's just a little bit slightly less of an aggressive curl from the side in. So that pinky toe felt to me, at least for the course of a 5K, that there was more room. But I think the biggest difference is that they moved the position of the plate. And I've always wondered like how much that really makes a difference. And so the position of the plate is higher. And I don't know if that's completely what I'm feeling or if it's just the extra foam and the shaping of the foam that's what I'm feeling. But it felt a little bit more cushioned to me than fast, if that makes any sense. Like it didn't feel like it was like compression, decompression quite as quick. It felt a little bit slower in that sense. So it felt like it was absorbing things a little bit better. And so it doesn't mean it still felt like a very fast shoe, but the difference is that it didn't feel quite as like raw, if that makes any sense. It feels a little bit more polished this year for me. So I like it. I like it. I think it's an improvement. I felt like it was easier for me to kind of like get power from the legs through to the foot, and onto the ground more directly than with the Sky. Sometimes I feel like I have to really think carefully about how my foot's hitting the ground. Otherwise, like energy kind of gets wasted a little bit. So that's kind of like the main takeaway that I have. So let me try to get through some of your questions or anything that you guys have in the chat. All right, quick question from Lou. Wondering, if I run Wineglass on October 2nd, is 5 weeks before New York City Marathon, November 6th, doable? I think it's definitely doable, but I would probably say that pick one of those to be your A race, and then the other one, you'll just go and just enjoy it, have a good race. But that's kind of how I would say. Steven76 says, Runchester said, it's not next percent, but close. I mean, I think that I've always thought that this Metaspeed Sky is probably the closest to the next percent in terms of the way that the foams feel. So I guess it's been a while since I've run an next percent now. So maybe I need to review another one this year just to refresh my recollection on it. But, the feelings are very familiar to me. Let's see. Albert says, Kafusi, great race footage and interviews. How are you avoiding obstacles along your path while still ensuring capturing good footage for the runners? A lot of it is just point the camera and pray. And so like you just run with the camera and you're just, because you can't like look at what the screen is doing and run like that. Or at least I can't, because these are pretty hard efforts for me. And so you just kind of like point it that way and you run. And I always just kind of like just point it straight, not try to do too much curling around of it. You just kind of hold it steady and then you run. And that's it. The nice thing about it, so what I told this to Carlos at Road Running Reviews, is what I do is that's why I love the GoPro 10. I shoot it in 4K, 120 frames per second, so I can slow-mo it down if I want. But I make my video 1080p. So then I cut in on that 4K. So it's kind of like a digital crop in, so I can kind of fix it a little bit in post. Dominic wants to know, does ASICS reveal more colorways? Not that I'm complaining, the green looks amazing. No, I think this is going to be the launch colorway. It's going to coincide with the World Championships in Eugene, so that's why they're kind of like Eugene-ish colors, I think. Although that doesn't look like Eugene colors to me, but that's what everyone else is saying. But I'm the colorblind guy, so don't take my word for it. But I am advocating heavily for a an all white foam, white shoe, like white upper, and then black outsole. White outsole would also be good, but I like the white and white on black. That's the kind, like, there's a couple of Julian Wanders videos on Sweat Elite where he's running in prototypes that are that color. And I just think it looks so amazing. I feel like if the white on white can handle the dirt roads of E10, then it can handle the Chicago Lakefront path. So let's do it, you know? So apparently there is a little bit of hesitation from ASICS as to whether to make a white on white racer. So I've been encouraged to, you know, to lobby for it, which I very happy will do. And so, you know, if you guys start, like, people read the comments. So, like, if you put it in, like, comments and stuff, places like on the Metaspeed Sky Review and be like, you know, it would look great, a white on white. You know, people, we might be able to make it happen. Adam says, marathons like Valencia and Rotterdam are producing fast times. I wonder if they may partly supplant the World Marathon Majors. I think that's a great question or a great comment. And I don't want, not that I want to like take down the World Marathon Majors by any means. They're fantastic events. But I also feel like, there's, I think like, I could be getting it wrong because I've never been there and experienced them. But I feel like in a way they're serving a role that like CIM, Grandma's, Houston does for Americans here. Is that there are races that are fairly easy to get into and usually have good weather and are fast courses to run. And so like if there's got to be other ones around the world. And so, I'd love to be able to spotlight some of those races. So after this, I'm going to look up who the title sponsors are and maybe start reaching out and try to figure out a way if I can start going to some of these races too. Because I just think that as like World Marathon Majors are great, but they're not for everybody. They're expensive. They're hard to get into, which leads into some of the expenses and stuff. So like there's other really great ways to enjoy the sport. Gyrocrino says, do you know if ASIC's doing these two new shoes in size 14? Size 14 is hard for them. I've talked to them a couple times to a couple different people about size 14, and they're like, we hear it a lot, but we don't know if we're hearing it. Like, we just don't know if there's enough size 14s out there. I think that's what they're saying. So, but hopefully, if we can get all the size 14 runners to buy a pair, or not all of them, but a lot of them, then there might, or to be interested in them, maybe. Could be. Ed says, ASICS will call the color faster than Bolt green. Faster than Bolt. I do like faster than Bolt. That'd be shots fired for sure. That'd be great. Ilya Kim says, bidet is a revelation. And Lou says, the bidet story is the funniest of the day so far. Yeah, I'm really intimidated. Steve 76 says, YouTube, how to bidet? No way. Can they make videos like that? I don't know how you do that. Yeah, and Frank says there's not a lot of size 15s in Japan. That could be it. Adam says, are they going to put more of the AR outsole in the heel? No, I don't think so. So they remapped the outsoles already, and I think so here's the Sky Plus and here's the regular Sky. So they basically looked at people's outsoles to see where they were like wearing down and looked at their foams. And so like this little back patch here is slightly different shaped. There's a little bit more here in the way medial far back side of the heel than there is in I'm trying to figure out how do I point to these different shoes. Than there is in the Plus. And then there's this like big giant curl out under the arch of the foot where people weren't wearing down their shoes. So I don't know about the people that like, who was it? Was it like Doctors of Running that complained about it? There's a couple of people that I've heard talk about how like they wanted rubber back here, but I'm guessing that their data hasn't shown that there's a lot of, mine don't wear that way. Now this pair of shoes only has like 40 miles on it. So it's not going to really show on this one, even if I did. But on my other pair that has like 130 miles on them, I don't have a lot of wear back there. So I don't know. Did I freeze for a second back there? Sorry, guys. Yeah, Lee says that the World Marathon majors are great, but difficult to get into for the non-elite runners. I know that's the thing. It's hard to get into. I mean, when you're like, I just think that like there's lots of races that are getting to the status now where it's like they're so hard to get into that it just is becoming prohibitive, you know? And so maybe it's okay. Maybe that's the way that, you know, you'd rather have a couple of people that give up ever trying to get into your race versus having not enough runners to fill all the spaces, for sure. That's a better problem to have, but it's discouraging to see that, you know. It says, from cornfields to bidets, what happened to you, Co? You've changed me. I haven't changed. I mean, I'm probably the only one that asked Julian Wanders about his pooping situation. So I feel like, you know, I'm still keeping true to the core. I was really nervous to ask him about it, though. So I was like, when I asked him the question about how you had to poop during a marathon, I wanted to preface it with like, and we love you for it because you're like our hero. But I'm guessing no one else that interviewed him over the weekend asked him about his pooping at a marathon. I don't know why, but I'm just such a huge Julian Wanders fan. I just love the way he runs, seeing all his workouts. He's just such a beast. He's out there just getting it done. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and I love the idea that he might be packing like a suitcase full of like Kenyan food with him as he goes to his next race, so he doesn't have to change what his diet is. Seatown fan says, Mike, what are your favorite racing shoes? I mean, the Metaspeed Sky, probably the Metaspeed Sky Plus is definitely up there. I love the Adios Pro 2. I think I may prefer the Adios Pro 1 in retrospect. So that's probably number 2. Those are like the top 2. And then, I mean, it's been a while since I raced in an X%, and then I ran in the Alpha Fly, also great shoes. So those are probably like, if I were to round like list 4, I mean, that's a lot of shoes. That'd probably be the 4. RC Elite 2 is really great. It's just a little bit too squishy. Not that I mind it being that squishy, just not enough. Doesn't pop back enough. Adam wants to know, when are you coming to Boulder? I'm coming in June. I'm going to try to go to Locale, the pizza place. June, I think it's in between. So there's one weekend. I just looked at the calendar. I'm gonna make a video about. I'm gonna be doing a lot of traveling with ASICs this summer, because as they're getting ready for the World Championships. I think it's gonna be. I don't know. I think the week after. I think it's the week before or the week after Grandma's. It's right around there. So. But yeah, we'll definitely have to do some sort of shakeout run, you know. I was zoned in on my peer review report until I randomly heard pooping situation. That's really funny. And it says, the best line recently on YouTube was Josh of the day, put the toilet paper in the fridge, things are going to get spicy. I don't know. I didn't see that yet, but that's amazing. I don't know. I just want to be involved, and like I don't know what's coming with that, but I want to see it. I want to be a part of it. All right. Kurt says, if you have read either The Running with the Kenyans or Out of Thin Air, I've read both of those. The Kenyans and the Ethiopians bring a lot of food with them because you can't get the ugale just anywhere, you know. So, yeah, I guess you got to bring it. So, but Julian was like, I'll just eat pasta. That'll be fine. Yeah, so I think that's pretty funny. Chris Panto Creator says, hey Kafuzi, how's the knee doing these days? All good still doing great. Touch wood, knock on wood. Knee feels good. My mileage has been lower. My intensity has been higher, and things are working out. I think the mobility work has been really helpful. I'm not. This last month or so, I have not been as good about it. Sometimes I do an abbreviated version where I do like 5 reps of everything versus 10. But I'm still doing the mobility work and making sure that I do that and get everything kind of ready to run before I go running every day. So that's kind of it. Ilya says, we call Julian Training King because he trains so hard and rarely finishes races. It's an ongoing joke in our running community. Please don't cancel me. Oh, really? I didn't know that's what he was called. Interesting. Matthias says, watch out for a CS runner. Is he? Yeah, he's still in Boulder. Oh, we'll have to meet up for sure. I'll give him a banana. Adam says, Pizza Locale is a chain, overrated and overpriced. There are better local ones? Oh, well, I'm happy to eat pizza multiple times to test it out. Eric says, any thoughts on Edge versus Sky in regard to short distance racer versus long distance racer instead of stride cadence difference? There's plenty of that. So most of the pros that I've talked to or spoken to tend to have both because they're ASICS pros, but they generally end up using, like, the same person will use the same shoe differently, or the two different shoes differently, right? So a lot of pros are ending up using the Edge for basically as like a training track flat. So that way you still get all the benefits of recovery from using a super foam. It's not as hard on your body, but it feels suitable for, like, ripping 400s on the track or even 200s, And then, like, if you're doing like a 16 by 400 day kind of thing, or 20 by 400, something ridiculous like that. And then they'll go to reach for the Metaspeed Sky when it's like a threshold run, 15-mile long run, 10 miles at marathon effort, that kind of thing. Then they'll reach for the Metaspeed Skies. Is how a lot of the pros, at least, I don't want to say a lot of the pros, but it's a common refrain that I've heard from a lot of the different pros. Now, another thing that I didn't get to learn too much about over the weekend, and I'm going to follow up with someone about it. I don't know if maybe they're not ready to really even talk about it that much, but part of this event, I think they gave all of the pros a cadence sensor, some sort of sensor to wear. So if you look at some of the photos or the videos really closely, a lot of times their singlets were covering it, but it was kind of like the Garmin pods, not the foot pods, but the pods that you clip to your back, the small of your back, like right on your waistband. You could see it best on the female athletes, because then they were wearing, usually some of them were wearing like the halter tops. So you could see if they were wearing something on their waistband. And so they gave them all to them. And then there were a couple of the ASICS ISS, like the Institute of Sport Science people. So some of the scientists from Japan were there, and they were on the course with video cameras so that they could capture footage of how the pros were actually hitting the ground at road racing speed. So there was a lot of other research that was happening. So I'd love to be able to follow up with somebody on that at some point. And I think I know who to talk to about that. So that's another video that I'd like to make coming up in the future, to be like, what did you guys learn about that? So I don't know if that foot pod is something that's going to be made available to the public, or if that's, what would be a great way to do it is if you bundle it with Run, because ASICS owns Runkeeper. That would make sense to me. But so they're capturing a lot of data over the weekend as well. So it was not just a spectacle; it was also like a lot of research that was happening. But to answer the question, yeah, some people do use it that way. But I think for the most of the runners, they said the breakdown was 90% of the athletes were going to be racing in the Sky Plus, and then 10% were running in the Edge Plus. I think Zane Robertson was running in the Edge Plus. He's the only one that I'm sure of. Other than that, I'm not positive. Ed says, really enjoying these collabs with ASICS and Hoka last year too. Feels really natural and well-intentioned for both sides. I hope that's coming off that way. I've been enjoying it too. I haven't heard from Hoka this year, so I don't know if they are bringing media to like Western states this year. I don't think that I'm on the list. I'm not unaware of the fact that they are the title sponsor for, or at least the footwear sponsor for UTMB. I know I'm not exactly in that space as far as my YouTube content goes and my viewership goes, but I'm just saying, I wasn't exactly the best choice or the most obvious choice to cover Western states last year, but I thought I did an okay job, So, AHBC San Antonio says, did anyone ask how we could score a non-elite running hat? Stay tuned. I'll have some. We're just waiting on a couple of things coming up. It's really good. I mean, if I can say so myself, I didn't do any of the work on it, so I'm not taking credit for anything. It's a good hat. Fantastic says, hi, just joining the live stream now. Has anyone mentioned how Redditors are saying that ASICs, Meta, Plus, Midsole are screaming big banana energy? No one has mentioned that. Someone mentioned that in one of the comments, and I'm like, I don't understand what that means. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know what big banana energy means, to be honest. I think I know what it means, but I don't really know. I've never been on Reddit before. I mean, I think I've seen it from time to time. Like sometimes when you Google stuff, it takes you to Reddit, but I don't spend a lot of time there. Brendan said, he fell going up the stairs last week and messed up the knee. What? He says he's a clumsy mess. Fortunately, he's doing better now. That stinks, man. Take care of the knee. Be careful. Richard Go says, any plans for a triathlon this year? It would be great to see you training for it. I'm not sure. So I haven't swam in months. And a lot of that was because of Omicron. I just didn't want to go be inside. And I'm looking at my calendar and I'm like, where can I fit this in? And I'm not sure. The thing that's difficult is that we're getting very close to 100,000 subscribers. And I want to be able to run a 100K for it. The only, like the timing of that, but I don't want to do it before like grandma's. So I'm looking at like June or August, which isn't an ideal time to be running 100-kilometer race. But I mean, yeah, so it's going to be hot. But that time would also be like when it would be like prime triathlon time. So I'm just not sure. I might just end up doing a lot of swimming and bicycling this summer. I just don't know if I'll be able to compete in one. But maybe if I'm just doing enough of it, I could just like hop into one if I find one somewhere. I'm just not sure. So if you guys ever hear of one, then you're like, hey, this would be a good fit for you. Let me know. Kurt says, so you had mentioned the difference in the Sky Edge being the rocker and toe spring. I guess how are they different? Did you get to keep either or both? Looking forward to the website to check. Yeah, they did let me keep both. So here's the story on why I have two of them. I don't think that they were not planning on giving me the Edge. And I think. But like after you went through like the speed lab, at the end, they gave you like a pair of shoes to try on and like to keep and do your testing and make your content about. And like everyone else's boxes like had their name on it. And they were like, Mike, we can't find yours. And I'm like, that's okay. That's all right. I really wasn't too worried. I was like, that would have been disappointing. But fortunately, to Spain, I did bring my regular pair of Metaspeed Strat, my version 1. So I was like, I could still race. It'll be fine. They were like, oh, we found you one. And they're like, but it's an Edge. I'm like, great. I've never tried an Edge before. Like, this seems like a great time. So I ended up running this. They spent like the next day, like trying to hunt down like, all of the shoes that they had brought, like, and basically calling all of the places that might have them in Europe if they could find one. And they found a pair for me. And so like after dinner one night, they were like, come on over to the hotel. We got a pair for you. So I went over and they were like, here you go. It's like the last size 9 that exists. So I was like, you're sure a pro doesn't, like, there isn't like a pro that's like not going to be able to race tomorrow because of this. And they're like, no. All our pros are taken care of. That's why it took you so long to find you one, because we wanted to make sure all the pros had the shoe sizes that they needed. And then once everyone else was sorted, then like there was one size 9 left. So that's how I ended up with both. So the rocker and the toe spring. So it's going to be really hard to show it to you, like the way this set up for like, for podcasting. But if we look at the sides of the shoe, so let me show you, I have to look at the sides of the shoe. Let me adjust this too, make it a little bit darker. So with the Sky, and this is the Sky, they made it so it stays like flat, and then whoop, really quick at the end. So you could start to see kind of a little bit of a curl here, but the majority of the curling doesn't happen until like really towards the end. When you look at the Edge, it starts out like much sooner. So even though it's more like of a gradual curl of this rocker, I mean, they say when they say toe spring, they mean like that's like the Hoka word is rocker, but toe spring is how they're using it. So it's a little bit more gradual, but it's taking up much more of the shoe in terms of where that starts. So edge, these are both left shoes. I'm trying to do it the same like distance apart. And sky, edge, sky. I gotta get the angle right. Edge, camera one, lens A or lens B. Lens A, it's like an eye test, or lens B. So that's what it was. So what it just feels like is, that feeling when you're in a Hoka shoe, all of a sudden it kind of dips forward. It has that very prominently in the edge. And it took me a little bit of while, and it felt to me like an instability. But they tell me for a cadence runner, that feels more stable to them. And they have lots of they showed all these images of different pressure mapping that they have done of people on their insoles, depending on whether they are a stride or a cadence runner. So, and then also just to point out to you guys again, they're going to have the way that I understand it is the way you're supposed to figure out how to figure out if you're a cadence versus stride runner is you're supposed to look at your stride length and cadence numbers if you have a watch that calculates that or a foot pod. But you have to do that over different sets of speeds, and then you basically make a line graph, right? That's the part that confuses people. They're like, well, if I'm running, how do I know if I 180 paces? But at what pace, at what speed, so people were confused about that. But you basically got to get a pen and paper out and a ruler. And not that that's hard math, but it's more than people are willing to do before deciding which shoe to buy. And so they're going to make a kind of a Macmillan's calculator for a race calculator. I think that I don't know if you have to tie in your Strava to it or if you just put in some numbers. I'm guessing it's going to be some sort of test. It might be a structured workout that you run. It's first do 1 mile or 5 minutes at easy pace. Then do 5 minutes at, marathon pace, and then 5 minutes at 5K pace, or maybe less, something like that. So it can see at different paces where you are. And then depending on whatever the slope of the graph is in terms of stride length versus speed, whatever the slope of that line is will kind of determine which one you are. So that's but there's just usually, it'll be something where you just get to punch in numbers and then it'll tell you, so. Shannon says, hey, Co, thanks so much for getting the awesome shirt to me so soon. Love it. Awesome. I'm glad you have it there. I have one more shirt that I got to send away to one person. I just got their address. I got it a little while ago, but I was in Spain. But then I'll get that. Oh, well, I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm glad that it made it to you. I'm always nervous when I send stuff out. I'm like, I'm going to mess this up somehow. This is the kind of thing that I'll mess up. So I don't know. But I'm glad you got it. And it's good to see you, Shannon. Good job over in Boston. Seatown fan says, Mike, do you do much core work? I try to do different types of planks and other core exercises. I don't. And then whenever I do 5K pace work, I'm reminded that I don't, it definitely lets me know. So it's something that I feel like I do need to work on including. Sorry, I'm just trying to adjust this lighting a little bit. Dave said, Alicia'S race was inspiring. Do you know what why the times didn't line up? Is that what you're trying to say? So they started the men and the women staggered a little bit. And then there was something about it where I'm not sure what you mean. So there was a men's time and then a mixed team time. And the mixed team was the men pacers and the women racers. And then the men's team was just the men pacers and men racers. And then it seemed like the mixed team clock, or in other words, the women's clock, and the official times were off by a second or two, which was a little bit confusing. Because when I look at it, I've got the angle on the camera where I could see the person crossing the line and then the clock, and it seems different. Now, there could be just a delay in the transmission time between the clock and the monitors that we were looking at, so that might be it. But it was like a couple seconds, which seemed off. Because I remember thinking Alicia came through the 5K at 14:43 or 14:44, and the the European record was 14:42. So I felt like in my mind, she had just missed it, maybe by a second. Although she did, I didn't realize there was also a UK record that was at stake as well. So that she did, I believe she did break that one. Mr. Random said, "What's the word on the new magic speed?" I've heard that. I've been told that I'm gonna like it. They're like, we're really excited for you to try that one because I think it's gonna have some qualities that you will prefer over version 1. So I'm like, great. That's as far as I've heard on it. Lynn says, okay, the sandals that were embargoed, what's the word on those? I tried asking like 6 or 7 different ways where I could just kind of talk about them a little bit. And they were like, we did put them on the athlete's feet. So like people saw them. But I was like, okay, well, I'll wait till you guys are ready for me to talk about them. But I was given a pair. I have them in a size 13 because that's the last pair that they had left because they were there to give them away to the athletes so the athletes could have them. And so basically I got like one leftover pair. And it's not for me to really wear around, but so that way I can have a video and make it and have it ready for when they are ready to talk about it. And then they'll give me a pair in my size. But I think the reveal for that will be at Eugene. So in 12 weeks. So it's pretty cool. I'm very excited about them. That's as much as I can say. Ilya wants to know, how does the FF Blast Plus character stand against FF Turbo? FF Blast Plus, I believe, is a different compound. FF Turbo is nylon based. And then FF Blast Plus, I'm not sure exactly what that is. It feels like a supercritical foam to me. It's ASICS, one of ASIC's lighter foams and squishier foams, but it's not going to have quite the lightness and the resiliency that a FF Turbo has. So the FF Turbo is a racing foam. The FF Blast Plus is there for lightness, but also mainly for cushioning. Eric says about that study, all the data that is collecting, he would love to see the data. I would love to see it too. I have a feeling we're not going to see too much, but I'm thinking like, maybe at some point I can get like either a written, kind of summary or thoughts from ASICS about it. Adam says, you asked if cadence stride was a proxy for the forefoot and heel strike. And I think it may also be a proxy for things like toe power, ankle flexibility, and time on ground. Can you pursue that with them? I'll try, but I'm not sure I understand exactly. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but like, I don't understand all those different metrics that well. So, but let me think about that one. Time on ground. Okay, I could see that. Thomas Nguyen says, got into the live chat. Welcome back. Oh, welcome, Thomas. Love the video this weekend. Thanks. He's looking forward to follow Mike Wardy and trek across the U.S. and assisting him when he gets to Ohio. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know he was doing that. Daniel Burton says, are you running Carlsbad 5000? That is a race that's on my list of races that I would love to run. I'll have to take a look at that. When is that race this year? Do you know, Daniel? And Shannon says, Ko gets Boston FOMO, so he one-ups everyone and goes to Spain. Holy cow, that trip looked amazing, all aspects. Thanks. It was so much fun. I had a chance to have dinner, not me, but like my contact, who was in charge of like the Americans, me and Brian, and she was not really in charge of the Canadians, but she was there she would kind of ended up being in charge of the Canadians a little bit too. Kevin McKinnon, I forget his last name. We just called them, it was Kevin and Joel. We just called them the Canadians. I've not met them before, but they were great guys. And so the four of us, and then Emma Bates and McKenna Myler, we all went out to dinner with their kind of handler from ASICS. So it was super cool to do that. And I'm trying not to be like a super fanboy about it. And I'm just like, oh, that's cool. We're just having dinner. But I was talking with McKenna Myler on the way back, and I was just like, you know, um, it's really easy to kind of get wrapped up in a lot of stuff and kind of the line of work that I'm doing now, where it's like you see Boston and everyone's there, and you're like, I didn't go this year, and I really should have been there, and like I'm missing out. And then like you have this week where there's not a lot of other people that are here that kind of I interact with normally, and so it just kind of comes and goes, and you try not to get wrapped up in it and just try to enjoy the places that you are. And she's like, that sounds a lot like professional running in a lot of ways. And I'm like, I think that there's probably a lot of crossover in that sense, in these kinds of fields where there isn't like a regular like schedule of like, you do this for 2 years and then you get a promotion, and then you do this for another 2 years and you get another that kind of thing. There isn't like a rate schedule or a time schedule. So, yeah, but like I'd real like, I had to like not turn off because I'd never turn off the phone, but I had to like kind of like not look at some Boston stuff because everyone's stuff was Boston. My whole feed was Boston, and I was just like, I should have been there. But it was really important that I didn't be there for family reasons. But I really felt like I really felt like I was missing out. So, Tony Macias wants to know, but everyone wants to know the sandals. I don't have a date when I can show or talk about them. I think that there's going to be a global launch, and so like ASICS global marketing team is kind of running that one, not ASICS America. I'm not sure exactly how these different arms tend to work out, and so I think like I just don't want to like make anyone mad, so I think that that's happening around World Championships, so I'll be able to talk about them like a little bit ahead of that. If you're in Eugene, you'll see me in them. I think I'll be able to wear them there. So, come up to Eugene. I think I'm gonna be up there for 4 or 5 days around the marathon. I think, and I have to go look at my calendar. I think it's about 4 or 5 days. I'm gonna try to do like a shakeout. I'm gonna want to run every day I'm out there. So we'll find some way to people want to go for. Some of them will be longer runs. I'm thinking maybe I'll do like shakeouts at some point, and like maybe in the morning, and then during the day at some point try to do. I don't know how the schedule's going to work. Yeah, I'm just not sure. So we'll see. Okay, you guys are filling me on the big banana energy. So Eric says, the bail part of the midsole and the forefoot really just looks like a banana. Is that all it means? Because Danny J is like, big banana energy is a nickname my ex gave me. Yeah, see what I'm saying? So I feel like that's what it is. Midlife Runner says, got my flights for the Chicago Marathon. First flight's Saturday. When is the group run? I usually do the group run for Saturday morning. I try to do it early because everyone's going to be racing early on Sunday. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to. I try to do it like, so it finishes. It's about the same time as the Chicago 5K is usually when it ends up happening. So I'm hoping that won't be too early. Mason says, any update on when we get the sweet ASICS tank you always race in? That one, they ended up not releasing it for some reason. I think it's a supply chain issue. But version 2 is coming. Now the athletes this weekend raced in something that looked a lot like the material that I have. So I don't know if that was a preview of version 2. I need to ask about that. But that kit was so good. And there's a match. The jacket that Emma was wearing when I interviewed her, to me it's yellow, but it's got 2 racing stripes down the back. And I'm just like, that's so good. Where did that? And that's the kit. That's the one that everyone was kind of warming up in. It's really good. It's just so good. I want that jacket. I also want the puffy bubble coat that Alish and they all had them. Like Alish was wearing hers to warm up in. Zane warmed up in his. And then Zane Robertson, and then Julian Wanders was wearing his the entire day, which felt to me like a very Kenyan power move to do. Like they wear their bubble coats all the time. When I met John Career in LA, we were on this rooftop in Los Angeles, and it was a little bit chilly. But like some people were there in like shorts, for dinner on this rooftop, or it was like kind of just like a cocktail hour kind of thing. But some people are there in shorts. Most people are there in like jeans and like a short sleeve or maybe a long sleeve, and he's there in like thick running pants and like a bubble coat. I'm just like, that's amazing. I think they just get. I don't know how hot it is in it. I always thought it was colder in the tent, but it seems like whenever the Kenyans leave and go elsewhere, they're always in their bubble coats. All right, I'm gonna catch up to you guys. Sorry. Oh man, we're already at an hour for today. I think I gotta get going because I got a lot of stuff I gotta take care of today since I've been gone for so long. So I think that's just gonna have to be a place to end it for today, guys. Man, this hour just flew by. I had so much fun talking to you guys again. We'll do another one tomorrow, so we'll be back here same time as usual, 1 p.m. Central Time, and we could talk more about the weekend or what's coming up or whatever it is you guys want to talk about. I'll try to follow up on some of the stuff we talked about today and see if I can get more information on that. Yeah, we're going to be back to the regular schedule for a little while. So there we go. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Till I see you guys next time. Be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.